Mom. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. We haven't done this in a while, but it's good to see you. Um, just before we came on to do this recording, we were talking. We were talking for over an hour, as we always do, but we haven't heard each other or really spoken to one another in a while.
It's true.
So
It
when we
is
do
true.
have a conversation, it is always long. So it has to be, as I have said before, it has, it has to be on days where we have the time to do it.
And not only it's true because I'm only off fully on Thursdays. So that's the only day that we have that we can do this. And it's
Yeah,
always fun. It's always fun to do it because although we chat on the phone on a constant basis, it's always good to do this kind of chat so that people out there could know the things that we discuss with each other all the
yeah,
time.
because I find that we have very interesting conversations. One of the reasons why I think that our conversations are interesting is because, we are two women from two different generations, a woman in her 60s and a woman in her 40s.
Yeah,
And you're a grandma, I'm a mom, I'm your daughter, you're my mother, and we look at life in different ways, and we really examine our lives, and we think about things that maybe not everybody thinks about. We're deep thinkers. And it's just always fascinating to have a conversation, because you give me the space to have to share my thoughts, because as anybody who watches me on a consistent basis will know, is thinking is my
yeah,
thing. Deep thinking is my thing. And you give me a listening ear and a space to share my deep ideas and thoughts with and
yeah,
I really appreciate that, and I think that having sharing our conversations with other people, like just opening the conversation to be heard from by other people. Well, I think some people might find it interesting,
yeah.
and I think today's conversation, the one that I have planned, is going to be fun. But before we get into our talk, the theme of this video, the idea for this video is a mom and daughter springtime chat. That's what I'm thinking. It's gonna be reflective. It's gonna be deep but lightweight. Just positive,
Okay,
good energy conversation.
okay.
Good vibes conversation. Which is the energy of spring. The energy of spring is renewal and beauty, and it's a good feeling
Yeah,
season. So this conversation is gonna have that same energy. And so we're gonna just start off with a prayer, a short prayer, and some breathing, and then we can get into the conversation, because I actually planned this. I have questions written
I
down.
can't even
We
believe that,
did it
man.
on plan.
I don't even
Yeah.
know what the questions are, so I hope I
Nope.
have the answers for you.
Oh yeah, you got the answers. We we didn't plan to have this conversation today,
No, at
but
all.
it's I just felt like the present. There's no time like the present, because if
It's
we
true.
if we got the energy to do it and we're willing, why not do it now? Instead of planning for later. Who knows what's gonna happen later? We know that today is a lovely day, and
Yeah,
we are in a good mood. We're in good space, so why not now? You know.
it's true.
So
Don't
take
leave
it take us
off.
away, Mom. A little prayer.
Well, Father, yeah, we thank you once again. We thank you for bringing us here once again that we can come together as a mother and daughter chat. We want to thank you for giving us the different insights that you have given us from the two different generations. We want to thank you for the social media apps that we can use to be able to get these messages out there to other people that might be interested in what we have to say, dear Father, because we know that we can use social media for good or we can use it for bad. And we have chosen to use it for good. And no weapon that is formed against us shall prosper. And any tongue that rise up against us in judgment, we shall condemn. And and Father, yeah, we just want to continue to thank you for the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding that you have given us and given us the hands that we can use for your glory and your honor to be able to do things to and the intellect, the insight that you have given us. So we want to thank you for all those things. We pray covering over this like I don't even know what to call it, but this mother-daughter chat that we are having this morning, we want to pray covering over it, dear Father, and help us to only say the things that you would have us to say, only the things that you would um, want to come to light, and give us the words that we need to have, and help that when it gets over to the communication lines to the other people that might be watching it out there, when it gets over to them, help that they will be receptive and they will receive it the way how we said it, and not that it will be intersected by anybody or anything that will want to cause confusion there, Father, because you are not the author of confusion. And this whole thing that we are doing for the honor and the glory of the Most High, the divine energy. We are doing this for your glory and honor. So, Father, we want to thank you right now for covering us, covering our families, and all the families that will be represented here today. We pray for covering over them as well, dear Father, because we know how this world is today. So we pray covering over all the families represented today. And we can go on and go on and go on and pray, but in Yahushua's name, we pray. Thank you, and thank you for everything that you have done for us.
Amen. Yeah. So I know that was hard to say a short prayer. That
Yeah,
was your
because that's why I laughed and said
that was
we
your
could go
version
on.
of a short.
That's why I
That
said
was
we
your
could go
version
on
of a
and we
short
could go on talking, and thank you for what.
prayer. Okay,
Yeah,
so just to know, just take a few breaths. You can just take 3 deep breaths and breathe in and breathe out. All right.
I'm done.
All right. Me too. Okay. So I don't usually plan these things. The ones that we have done before were never planned, and this was not by no means planned. But I definitely felt like I wanted to be very intentional with the conversation today. I got an idea of the conversation. Like I said, it is springtime, a mom and daughter springtime chat. It's a April vibes chat, a vibes chat. We're gonna talk about, like I said, the season, the month, the present, talking about now and this season in our life, this chapter, where we're at right now, and just that whole in that realm of conversation. Okay, so The first question that I have for you that I want to ask you today, and I have a bunch, so hopefully we will get it, fit all of it in this one. This is gonna be fun questions. You gotta think a little bit, so you're not gonna get it easy. You can hear me, right? You can hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Just don't let your voice drop.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first question I'm gonna ask is, how are you feeling right now in this present moment? What mental, vibrational, energetic space are you in right now?
Right now, in this time, I feel, I feel the most, um, I'm not even sure if happy is the word, but I feel the most joyous than I've ever felt in all my life because I always, I would describe it this way. I feel as though for the last 40 years or so, I was holding my breath. You know, when you feel as though you're just holding your breath and then it's like you can finally exhale. So
Yeah.
you can finally do the things that you love to do. And not only the things that you love to do, but things that bring you joy, you know, um, and don't care about what people think. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Mhm.
in my life, I always cared and worried. And I don't know if care is the word, because care sounds so harsh, but I always worried about, oh, what people are going to think of me and what this and what that. And what. But I think that I have now arrived. It took a
Yeah.
long time, but I have now arrived and open up because I think that I've taken my energy back.
Yeah.
So whoever had my energy holding, I feel as though I have taken my energy back.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I don't know if that was the answer to
No,
your question.
I absolutely love that answer, and I feel the same. I love myself more than I ever have. I I feel this is actually gonna be in relation to a question I have coming down the line, but it feels natural to say it now. I honestly have started to say in my videos, I feel like I'm from in my butterfly season. I don't necessarily feel like fully formed in that, but I feel like I'm coming into that season of spreading my wings and loving myself and knowing myself and learning how to communicate my feelings, learning how to stick up for myself, learning how to trust myself, learning how to and I also feel in the most joyous season, which is really funny because I know a lot of people it's so funny to be in this space in this season while it feels like the world crumbling, and the world feels like everything
Yeah,
crumbling around you, like a
exactly.
a rose that grows in concrete. I think, and that video just
Exactly.
came to my head.
Be-
Rose growing in concrete. Like I just feel like so much light. I feel lightweight, and I feel full of light, and I feel like I'm shining my brightest that I've ever shown in my life,
yeah,
and
because
coming
you
into the
feel
time
as
that
though
I know.
you're in a different, as though you're in a different timeline to
Hmm.
everybody else. Because before, what all of those things that is going on around me, I would be all worried and saying, suppose this happens, suppose I suppose I can't pay my rent and I lose my apartment, what am I gonna do? And I'd be suppose this and suppose that. But the way how I see it now is as though if those things happen, I know that there is something better
Yeah.
out there in store for me, you know?
I feel like in on that same conversation, I feel like I have come so far in on our and experienced so much now that I realized that all my fears were unwarranted. They were never, it never was as scary as you thought it would be in your head.
Yeah,
None of it at all. And I've also realized that when I am moved, it was always the right timing. And
exactly.
when I stay still, when I stay put, that was because I was
Exactly.
supposed to stay put. And I just have always, I've had enough experiences now to realize that I am guided. I am divinely guided, and I am divinely
Exactly.
blessed, and I'm divinely taken care of. And even in my hardest times, and my times when we struggle a little bit more, there was something to gain from that, because
Yeah.
in the times that I struggled, which I had a very tough year last year, financially and stuff like that was tough. And in the times that we struggled, you know, we still was taken care of, and we came out on the other side knowing that we could come out on the other side, knowing that
Exactly.
no matter what hit us, we will be okay, because we will find a way, we will work it out, we will find a way. There is going to be a path that's made for us, and there's a lesson to take from it, and a strengthening to get from it,
Yeah.
make you realize that you're tougher than you think, you're more resourceful than you think, you're more powerful than you think, and all those things. So
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
what
the
I tell
same.
your sister all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
So I feel
we
I
can
feel the
do.
same. I feel, yeah.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was finished. I said that's why I was
Oh,
telling your sister
okay.
as well,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
basically we can do anything. And I want to say that out there to whoever might be listening to this in the future. We can do anything that we put our minds and our hands to. Just have faith and know, have faith in yourself. And what
Mhm.
faith is believing in yourself,
Yeah.
believing in your ability. Don't worry
Yeah.
about who believes in you. You believe in yourself, you believe in your ability, and you know that you can do anything that you
Yeah.
set your mind to do.
Amen.
Because all of us, I said this before, all of us have gifts. And a lot of the times we don't know that we have gifts, but we have gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, not to go too much off track, but the reason sometimes that people don't know is because we're busy taking in everybody else's opinions, and
Exactly.
watching other people and comparing ourselves to other people, and feeling like you're not good enough because other people, might be doing something that you think they could do it better than you. When we pay attention to other people, and we don't look at ourselves and focus on ourselves and develop our own gifts without watching other people, like try to get to know ourselves and what we love, that's how we kind of miss
And that's
learning
the
what our
first
gifts
thing to
are.
do.
You gotta
That's
just be brave enough to just do it, even if it's imperfect and flawed, and you feel silly and you feel uncomfortable. Just go for it. Just
yeah.
go for it.
And that's the
So
first thing we gotta do. Block out all the
that
noise
and
and the
and and in this,
extra
yeah,
talking. The
yep.
extra
And in
people
this
talking because
timeline,
if
yeah,
there's so much people if there's so much people talking in your ears, you can't hear your inner voice.
exactly.
You
So
can't hear that inner voice because it's not a loud voice like you will hear, like how we are speaking here. It's a
mhm,
quiet inner voice. And the only way you
yeah,
can hear that inner voice is when you be still.
yeah. And I find that the reason that I feel all the things that I just described about feeling my most joyous and more better than I've ever felt is because I started to do that. I started to really focus on in here and this bubble, you know, than everything outside this bubble. And even when I take in other things, I'm very intentional about it. I don't sleepwalk into taking in and into consuming. I'm intentional about what I read and what I watch and what I, you know, what I read, what I watch, what I listen to, and the people in my space, like very intentional, so that what you consume is what you choose to, what you absorb is what you have chosen to absorb. So
Yeah,
I have trained myself to, be careful, little eyes, what I see. I've trained
exactly.
myself to consciously be aware of what I'm taking in and listening to.
Because
And
those things, basically, those things are portals.
yeah,
So your eyes and your ears and your mouth and your nose, and those things are portals.
yeah,
So what goes, and I said this before, I can't remember if it was on one of my videos or what, but what you put into your eyes, basically, I know sometimes you can't stop what you hear, but they're going into your subconscious. And your subconscious is like a computer. It has data in there and it
yeah,
never, it doesn't forget. It's your conscious that would forget. But your
yeah, so,
subconscious, it records everything. And when it records everything, it basically stays out in there. And then when it has to come out, it's going to come out. That's why you have to be careful what
yeah,
you put into your eye gates, your ear
yeah,
gates, and all that, because as I said, they're portals.
yeah. And so the thing is that, when things get in there that you did not, you had no choice. It just end up there because it just you saw it or you heard it. It's also developing the practice of filtering and figuring out how to put it in the trash or put it or shelf it, or how to not absorb it, to release it and let it go. So the next question was, but this is not the next question anymore because I think that you actually answered the second question as opposed to the first one. The next question was going to be, how have you been feeling during the month of April? But you answered in a big way when I asked you, how are you feeling? No. I meant literally no. In
Oh,
this moment,
okay, sorry.
like what mood were you in? So I don't know. What mood are you in? You what? The same energy, right? That you described. You in a good mood today?
Yeah, I'm in a good
Okay.
mood today.
So that
I'm
was what the first
actually,
question was literally.
I be in a good mood. I be in a good mood all the time because you know of the little incident that we had before we were supposed to come out here, the incident that I had. And that didn't even phase me
Yeah.
because, and the reason why it didn't phase me is because I know the person that I serve,
Mm, yeah.
So it didn't really phase me, it didn't really worry me because I look at it this way: what the enemy means for evil is always turned around into
Yeah.
good. So I believe that this chat that we have is going to be one of the best chats that you could have because just as I was going to come on, that incident happened. And then I
Yeah.
got it dealt with like in within 20 minutes
Yeah.
because I was able to see the person outside, go outside and talk to them, to say, all right, they come right back.
Yeah.
And they did
And
that,
it got resolved quickly.
Hmm?
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. So when I talked to you, you were calm and you weren't panicked or freaking out. You were
No,
like,
I
oh, this
wasn't
thing
planning. I
happened.
was
I'm gonna
laughing
be
at
a little. I'm gonna be a little delayed, but this thing happened, and just give
yeah,
me more time. And we have really evolved and grown so much in since whenever. We have grown and evolved, and we are. I like where we are.
yeah,
I
so
like
do I actually. I like where I am.
yeah. And
Because,
I'm very optimistic about the future and about where we're going. I
yeah,
know that these times are designed to scare people. And I would say to anybody who's watching this video, this is my advice or thoughts to you is just remember that the fear you feel is by design. It is meant to scare you. It is meant to scare you to paralyze you to keep you from stepping into what you need to be doing right now. To focusing your energy on the future, focusing your energy on becoming your best self and living in your joy and in your peace. And my advice to anybody watching this video is, you know, don't let it work. Don't let it work. Don't let the energy, the dark energy and all the ugly stuff scare you and keep you from stepping into your dreams. If there has been something that you had on your heart for a long time that you wanted to do, that you felt called to do, and you're thinking of stepping back from that idea because of all the stuff that's going on, don't do that. Continue on the path that you have felt called to do. And that's what I had decided to do. You know, I
Yeah,
decided to keep on my calling. Doesn't matter who became president, who leader did this, who resigned, who retired, who I don't care. I'm gonna keep on the path and the calling that I
exactly.
felt that I was supposed to be stepping into in 2025, and I'm gonna do it anyway. I have enough of that. Enough of that. Okay, I paid
Yeah.
attention to that long enough.
Yeah.
It's time for me
And
to.
even if that path get disrupted
Mhm.
for any reason,
Yeah,
even if that path get disrupted, look at it this way. Maybe you're supposed to switch gears, like a
yeah,
manual car. You're
yeah,
supposed to switch gears
yeah.
and take a little detour, but
Yeah, and the
not.
thing is, yeah,
Mm,
yeah, and the thing is, if you take that step, right, it may not look like how you thought it would.
exactly.
But the point is that you're moving, and when you're moving, that you got that
Exactly.
momentum, and you're moving towards something. And even if like you walking, thinking that you were supposed to go straight, and you walking, and you end up somewhere where you got to turn this way or that way, at least you
Exactly.
was walking, so you continue the motion and you moving forward.
Yeah,
But the whole
because
thing is
because
fear
what
paralyzes you. Fear makes you
exactly.
stuck. It keeps you back there.
Exactly.
You might not know the whole picture. You might not know where you lead into. You might not know what you're preparing yourself for. But the whole thing is to don't be paralyzed by fear. That is the point. Don't be paralyzed by fear. Don't let that part work. Don't that's by design because 2025 is a year of shift. It is a year of um is the best year to move into whatever it is that you were
That's
whatever the
why I'm so
calling, the
proud.
purpose that you felt that
That's
you
why
wanted to do
I'm
for your
so
entire
proud.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm so proud of the younger generation, because the younger generation are trailblazers, and they are there's so many people out there that is spreading the light and talking about the light.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that the younger generation is doing this, and they're basically holding the hands of the
Hmm.
older generation and pulling them and
Yeah.
saying, come, 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 you gotta catch up.
Because you said something to me that I absolutely loved
What
hearing you
was that?
say this morning. I can tell you. You said, you gotta understand that I had 40 years of what you call it brainwashing. I had 40 years of brainwashing, you know. So it's gonna be a little bit tricky. I'm paraphrasing, can't remember the exact words,
Yeah,
but it's gonna be a little bit tricky for me to unlearn certain things. You know what I mean? Because I had more years of learning that thing. Because that was a good chunk of your life, of learning things a certain way,
yeah,
and now to have to shift gears and unlearn certain things and understand it differently, that's more challenging. And I just love the enlightenment of you being able to realize that and be okay with that and not be like, this kind of like stubborn, stuck in your ways, like rigid, kind of like it is. I've learned it this way my entire life, and then it's worked for me my entire life, and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. Like you
yeah,
understood that, okay, maybe I didn't understand, maybe the way I was taught wasn't necessarily the right way or the right, you know the right way, right
Yeah,
understanding of it. And the thing is too about that is that, what we the younger ones gotta understand is that it worked. That was okay for the time that it was okay for, it was because that was that time. So another thing that we have to do is to show grace and compassion and our understanding and realize that, you know, how generations before us think and do things worked. That was the right, that was the
yeah,
way for that season, you know. And talking about a generational thing, you know, this season is for both the younger generations, the older ones to understand. Okay, I'm gonna be open to learning new things, and the younger generation understand this is what I've been, this is my way of life, this has been my way of life for a very long time. So learning new things isn't gonna just come easy, it ain't gonna happen tomorrow, you know? And it's a process. But I feel like if our generations can be able to do those things, to have compassion for each other and understanding for each other, and not judgment or, whatever, and not judgment, we could move forward and progress to such a beautiful healed
I,
future, you know what I mean?
yeah. And I feel that those people that are rigid and everything in their ways are people that their eyes aren't really open yet, and they're still stuck. They're
Yeah,
still stuck in the matrix.
yeah,
So when your eyes, and this is something that we cannot describe to anybody. We
yeah,
cannot describe to anybody what it is like when your eyes are open. Because if that person's eyes is not open, it doesn't matter what
yeah,
you tell them. They're not going to understand what you're saying.
yeah,
So the best thing for us to do sometimes is to just get along, love each other and get along and try to share our message as best
yeah,
as we can. And the
and to
only
live by
body
it.
then, yeah,
Yeah,
and the only person then that would be able to change anybody's way of thinking or anything like that is the Most High.
yeah,
That's the
and
only body that would be able to change
yeah,
anybody way of thinking. The only thing that we are here to do is to do our job and
yeah,
to spread the word as best as we can. And then
I-
what
yeah,
he does is he takes that seed and germinate it and it grows.
yeah. I think too we live by example and not by
Exactly.
trying to, beat a message over somebody's head, or beat, like trying to force our opinions on other people, but we live by example. That's it. We live by example,
Exactly.
and I think the truest form of, you know, spirituality is being it, not talking it. Is being it, being it instead of talking,
Exactly.
so,
And
but
for years, part of my prayer has been, you know, give me the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding to understand your word, to understand what you want me to do. But one thing I realized is that when I was stuck in the underneath the church roof, put it this
mhm,
way, underneath the church roof, although for years I was praying for that wisdom, I was not getting that wisdom. I had to pull myself away and lose friends, lose all kinds of people that thought you were crazy, lose all of that. You had to pull yourself away in order to receive that wisdom that you pray for. So sometimes, point I'm making is that we pray for things, but
Yeah,
sometimes we have to change our environment. We have to change our environment. We have to change not only our environment physically, but we have to change our environment mentally. And that is something that I had to do. I had to change my whole environment mentally and
yeah,
physically.
mhm, yeah. I understand. It's true. It's true. Me too, actually. Me too, because I had mentioned this to you one time where I felt like I struggle with anxiety really, really, really bad, and like really bad in my 20s and 30s, and I thought that one day I had just like a miracle. I thought I thought it was God, just by a miracle that it was gone. I don't know what happened. It was just gone. And then I realized that it came to me later on. I started to realize that the reason it was gone is because I moved out of the urban area, out of the city like areas where it's noisy and it's high energy because it's crowded and a lot of people and
And you can't
not as much,
hear. You can't
yeah,
hear.
not as much nature and that kind of stuff. And I moved into the suburbs, and then from the suburbs I moved on to a farm. And since I moved out of the urban area, the city area, city light area, and moved into suburbs and or rural areas, then I realized that that's how I overcame it. It was actually science. It was
Our
actually like
bodies, because
our
our
like
bodies
because yeah, I
are
could
nature.
process, I could spend time in nature, I could breathe, I could, so my environment changed, and then eventually after the whole period of what I had in my system, faded and became a distant part of myself, you know, it, I eventually like woke up one day and I was over it. But I didn't wake up one day and I was over it. I was flushing it out my system the longer I spent in a different environment. You know what I mean? So the longer you were out of the environment, it was starting to like subside, it was starting to like fade,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
Because basically we, as I said just now, we are nature.
yeah,
And we as human beings need to feel the vibrations, and we need to feel the energy. And years ago, years and years ago, when I would tell people I could feel certain energy, they used to look at me as though I was crazy. But the
yeah,
thing about it is that we need to feel the earth underneath our feet. Sometimes we just need to be able to take off our
yeah,
shoes
yeah.
and just walk
Amen.
on the plain grass or something, because
Yep.
that 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 gives us a boost because
And then we
we
breathe
are
in,
energy.
we breathe in fresh air as opposed to the
Exactly.
exhaust from all the traffic. We breathe in crisp,
Exactly.
fresh air, and when you go outside, you hear the birds singing, or you see the wind swaying in the trees,
Exactly.
or So I realized it took me a while, but I figured it out. I wasn't like God just took it away. It was an environmental change, But I just thought at the time, I was like, what the heck? What happened? I'm not, I'm over it. Oh, and I'm better. I'm so much better. And I just like, I thought it was like, yeah, like God just taking it away, but no, it was an environmental change. It was science, just somewhere different. But let's go to the next question. Let's go to, you can hear me,
Okay.
right? Let's go to the next question. What is your favorite thing about spring?
Um, my favorite thing about spring is, for one, that's when the new year is. So for those of you that don't know, the new year is really in spring. So when I told my daughter Happy New Year, um, so that's when everything, the way I describe it, every day is waking up. the trees they sleep for the winter season, and then in spring they just wake up and everything starts blooming. You see the little buds coming out, and then you see everything full. My route to where I travel to go to work is a is a great depiction of that because I pass a lot of trees and a lot of things like that. And that I don't know when you ask what I enjoy about spring, but that is one of the things I enjoy about it because you can the air is different.
Yeah.
The air is different. Everything is just different. And it feels
Yeah.
as though you just started on a new journey.
Yeah.
Like like the new journey has now begun. Like for me, the 1st of January was never felt like a new journey has now begun.
Yeah.
So so that's basically it. I that's
So, one of my favorite things about spring is, pretty much the same thing that people favor about spring: the newness, the colors, the buds, the blossoming, the awakening of everything.
Well, that's the same
Um,
thing I said.
Basically the same thing that everybody loves: coming out, finally getting out of the house, and it not be freezing cold.
Yeah,
And just spring is actually one of my favorite seasons. Not one. Spring is my favorite season because of the whole newness of it, the coming out of winter and the awakening of everything, and seeing the animals come to life, and my least favorite part is all the bugs that come out. All the My least favorite part is all the bugs that come out, because
yeah.
they're awakening too.
That's why
Yeah.
one of my next videos that I am going to upload that I'm going to do, I told Tatiana, is make a bug repellent because summer is coming out, the bugs are coming out, so we have to make a bug repellent, a natural bug repellent.
Wow. Wow.
So
That,
so she said, "Mommy,
yeah.
thank you," because she's get bite. So she said,
Yeah, I
thank
know the bugs, the bugs, the bugs, the bugs. That's not my favorite part. But the flowers, and when the colors start popping out, I love it. I love it. And my next question was gonna be,
you. Okay,
what is your favorite flower?
my favorite flower.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I would say I would say that my favorite flower is rose. And I don't know if because roses are normally red or what, but I find roses very, very pretty. Um, I just love roses. I find them very pretty and all the different layers that they
Yeah.
have.
The rose to me was a is a very popular flower for your generation, I think. I think a lot of women in your generation love roses, you know. And your favorite color is the red rose?
Yeah, but my favorite color is red. But but roses come in a lot of different colors, but they're beautiful in any color. But I
Yeah.
just found that when I used to work at my other place that I used to work, they had a whole set of rose bushes to the front. And in springtime, when they're now blooming and they're now coming out, they're so pretty. They're so, so pretty. And that's the best time to reap them to make rose oil and different things. But they're so pretty.
Yeah.
And then after they just start to get a darker color, a darker red, more of a burgundy-ish color,
Mhm.
and they start to all shrivel up. But
Oh
so
wow.
yeah, so but in
Oh,
spring, I think they're really pretty.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, as you will know, my favorite flower. I bet
Is
you
a
know my favorite
sunflower.
flower. Yes. My favorite flower is the sunflower. And as I was saying, Many times I talk about it, I love the fact that, it is it stands tall. It's a tall flower, depending on what type of sunflower, but and it looks like the sun. So it gives you this kind of warm feeling. Sunflower could also come in different colors. Some warm colors. It could come in some interesting colors, and it always faces sun, and I identify with that personality, the personality type of a sunflower, because I think that's why when I started to embrace the term light worker, because if I really reflect on my journey, I always turn everything, into light.
So
I
then,
turn my
if
darkest moments into light, and I always see the bright side of things, and I always align myself with the positive energy and the light energy of things. Hmm.
and what I did for the rose, what would you say that is? Because I would always say sometimes you're a rose between a bunch of thorns or whatever.
You
But
know,
what
a
would the
root.
rose
Yeah.
be?
Well, this is a plan. And first of all, I didn't read anything or anything, so this is me speaking from my head. But you know what? I could see how a rose could also be your spirit flower, because, first of all, a rose gives you like this classy vibe, right? So it's a classy flower. It's a flower that, it identifies with love and sensuality and friendship,
Exactly,
depending on what how it is gifted. But it's a
exactly,
classy flower,
exactly,
and it has strong stems, just like you, strong
exactly,
stems. It got thorny. The thorns on the stem to me reflect how you protect yourself. You know what I mean? You are a fierce
exactly.
protector of yourself. Nobody coming at you just like that. You go, the better I mess with you, you know? And it has an elegance to it. So that just came off the top of my head. I could see how a rose is your spirit flower, because that is you. You have an elegance and a beauty, but a strong root, strong stem. And again, the thorns aren't meant to be mean or negative. It's a protection. You know what I mean? It's how the rose protects itself. So people can't come at you just like that without meeting your thorns. They don't come for you just like that. They gotta be careful when they come for you. you know. you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So 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 that's how I would see how a rose is
yeah.
your
That
spirit
sounds
flower.
like
And
that
and
sounds
and
about right.
the most popular rose color is you're not telling me?
Oh, you mean you want me to finish it? Oh,
Yes.
red.
Yes, red. And that's your favorite color.
And
The
that's
most
my
popular rose
favorite
color
color.
is, so
And
I could see how rose is your spirit flower. Perfect choice.
yeah,
You know, that wasn't
yeah,
planned. That just came to the
that's
top
a
of my
fact.
head.
I
That's
never, the thing about it, I never thought about that before. I never thought,
yeah,
well, and it was your favorite color. I mean, not what's your favorite color, what's your favorite flower? And I don't know my favorite flower. When you asked me that, it made me
yeah,
think, and then
yeah,
that
yeah,
is what, yeah. So I
yeah,
never thought of it because to me, I would always hear you say your favorite flower is the sunflower and all that. But for me, I
yeah,
didn't think it was important to know
yeah,
what my favorite flower was.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Next
I, I,
question.
but I think now you've discovered what your spirit flower is. I don't know
Yeah.
if a spirit flower is a thing, but I feel like a spirit flower is a thing, because if a spirit flower is a thing, sunflower is mine. And if
Yeah.
it's not a thing, it is a thing with me.
And
You know?
I feel that a rose would be mine because in my heart of hearts, even though I was going through all my trauma over all the years, everything, I always felt as though there was a rose inside of me waiting to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And a
Going
rose is
through
so
everything
strong.
that I was going through,
A rose is a
I, mm,
resilient flower. It is strong. A rose is a tough flower. Which is why it's probably a popular flower because it is resilient. It don't die easily. Once it gets to the point of its strength, it don't just die easily. It's not. It's a very tough flower, tough,
that's
beautiful
true.
flower. You know. So again, yeah, that's a perfect flower. So let's go to the next question. Describe your dream garden, and please don't limit yourself to what's possible. Describe your dream garden. Like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah,
Describe your dream garden. You can hear me?
yeah,
Okay.
barely.
Oh,
My dream garden would be, ooh, these are some hard questions.
yeah,
These are really some hard questions.
but
My
it'll be
dream,
fun.
my dream garden, the thing about roses too, it has a lot of thorns.
Hmm.
So my dream garden would be a garden that has a lot of different kinds of roses as well. But I want a garden where I have um, various flowers inside of that garden. But I also want things like a waterfall. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Things like a waterfall, walkways, um, uh, chairs, uh, top for the chairs. But you
Hmm.
get what I'm saying. I don't want
Hmm.
my favorite garden. I don't know if I answered the question correctly or if you had something else in your mind. But I
No,
don't
no.
know. I
Your
don't want
dream
my
garden. Your
garden.
dream garden. Yeah.
I don't want my garden to just be a garden. I want my garden to be a place of serenity where
Yes.
I could go and I could sit down in my chair and I could just breathe and hear the nature, hear the birds, and hear. I think that's why, for me, um, eventually moving back to the Caribbean is very important because I feel that there is where I can have the kind of garden I want because I
Yeah.
also want the the nature of the seawater and all the different aspects of it. So
Yeah.
my favorite garden would be a garden like that, a place of serenity with
Yeah.
all the different plants around me and my herbs.
Yeah.
I definitely want my herbs that I could just go and pull my herbs at will, talk to my plants, you know, have conversations with them because this is what I've realized. And I knew this all along, but I guess it took me hearing it years later. But everything is alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything has
Everything
energy.
has energy. Yeah.
Everything has
Even the
energy.
physical things, even
Yeah,
the
it's just
that
that
aren't technically living
exactly.
things. Yeah.
It's just that some the frequency is higher than others.
Yeah.
But if you and they did this research that if you say bad words or curse um like rice in a cup and you
Hmm.
tell this one a lot of good things like I love you, you're super,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
talk and you say bad things to the other one
Yeah.
that has all the bad words going towards it, that other
Hmm.
one turns black and moldy, and the other one stays
Yeah.
looking as though you weren't even like that you only put it there yesterday, you
Yeah.
know. So that tells me everything is energy. Everything.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful.
Uh,
And I agree. So I was saying that my dream garden is similar. It's gonna be an experience, and it will have the same thing. It will have beautiful walkways. Like I would like it to be so intentional. Beautiful walkways and different gardens with different themes, like a food garden and a serenity garden, like you said, a garden where you sit and it's for relaxation purposes. You're gonna have the waterfall and the stream and the water fountain and the pond because the American life has grown,
Exactly.
so we have to have a pond. You know,
Exactly.
you know, flowers and just a little bit of everything, but it's an experience.
Everything.
It's an experience.
Yeah, it's
And
not just gonna be it's not
yeah,
just gonna be a garden.
yeah,
Say it's gonna it has to be a garden with a difference. It has to be a garden that
yeah,
makes sense,
yeah.
because
Well,
if
it's
we
just a
want to tap into our true self,
yeah,
into our true nature, we have to have nature around us.
yeah,
And
and yeah,
and a lot of the times we don't have that because of the buildings and because of the noise. And there are lots of times I would tell the people that when I do my Sweet Annie's Faith videos, I would always say the reason I like to do my things like early in the morning, 1, 2 o'clock, or 12:30 or something like that even, is
yeah.
because that's when it's quietest.
Me too.
That's when
Yeah, yeah,
you could hear, although out here is very quiet, it still sounds noisy. But
yeah,
for some reason at night everything gets quiet. And that's
yeah,
the reason why a lot of evil comes out at night. And that's why we
mhm,
were warned to be up at night to pray
mhm,
against these things.
mhm.
So because so that's why I like nights. I like early morning because it's quiet. I like the quietness of everything.
Yeah. So yeah, beautiful.
Oh, you sound
Um,
better. What did you
oh,
do?
probably mics. So maybe it is my mics. They need charging. You can hear me?
Yeah, way better.
All right. So for anybody who's watching this video, watching this recording, whenever I post it, I'm just gonna say that we've been having issues with the mic, and my mom hasn't been hearing me very well. I won't know what the sound of this video is gonna be like until after I end this recording. So hopefully the sound is gonna be okay for you guys. But my mom is struggling to hear me. I plugged out my mic, and I am hoping that the recording, the sound is gonna be okay for you guys, like I said. But if it's not, oh, that would be such a shame because this is a
No,
wonderful
if it is
conversation.
not, you know what? We
Yeah.
will still post it because this was a
Oh
very,
yeah,
very
yeah.
good
Definitely.
discussion.
I will post it and I will hope for the best. But if it isn't the greatest sound when you're listening, because I'm not gonna know till this recording ends. If it's not the best sound, please just show us some grace. It was a good conversation, and it will be a shame, but you know, life happens.
Yep.
So we are learning, right, Mom? We are learning. And you, as usual, you call yourself my guinea
You
pig.
got more questions?
Oh yeah, I got a lot more questions. But
Well,
as usual, I what was I gonna say? You call yourself my guinea pig. I am learning with your help. You are helping me to learn how to do things in this environment. We make videos in this under this circumstances. These chats and stuff. All right, so this is going to be a question that you're going to have to do a little thinking. So you could take a moment to think about it. Describe a day in your garden.
describe
Describe a day in your garden. Describe a day in your garden.
a day in my garden.
Mhm.
Oh my
For you, a day in your garden.
A day in my garden. Oh
Mhm.
boy, a day in my garden is going to be like I'm going to obviously. sit in one of my chairs for now and do some reflecting and do some soul searching and some praying and all those things. But also, my day will be spent just walking in my garden, watching the pond, watching the um, waterfalls, whatever I have there, but also tending to my herbs.
Beautiful.
So I don't know what day my garden would look like, but I feel that that is what it will look like.
So that sounds lovely. Um, Anything else about a
About
day
what
in
you
your
mean
garden?
about the day
Or
in my garden?
yeah.
No, I think it's just going to be a day of reflection and a day of, yeah, no,
So for me, a day in my garden is I've always dreamed about a garden. You know, I've had the
me too.
privilege to get a little taste of what that looks like, a small
Yeah, I
taste
know.
on my farm. I had a garden. I had many gardens, but I had one that was really special to me that I
Yeah, I
call
know.
Safe Gardens. And then then I changed the name to, I forgot what I changed it to. I think it was Hope Garden. But it was a flower garden, and I had the privilege of having experiencing a little taste of what I want in my garden. I had the painted rocks that I would paint positive words on, and I had a fairy garden.
Yeah, I
And I
remember.
always and one of the things I love about gardens, I love little garden ornaments, little garden what do you call them? I don't know if ornaments is the right way, but you know, garden decor, and not just the garden stuff, but the little decoration and the ornaments and the different things
Yeah,
that would be in gardens. I love that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So a day in my garden is like creativity and hanging out by the pond and hanging out by the waterfall and writing poetry and journaling and
yeah,
doing something creative and just
yeah,
being
yeah.
in a creative space, because
Basically, that's the same. Yeah,
one of my favorite things is just being creative, being I love it. I enjoy being creative, and that would
yeah.
be a day for me. So the next question is, describe your YouTube channel. And then the question after that, so I can let you mentally prepare. So the question after that is, what are your goals, your hopes, goals, and dreams for your YouTube channel?
All right. Which one? Describe.
Describe your YouTube channel first, and then where you hope to take it.
I know, but which? Because I have.
The one that you
All
have
right.
here at the bottom, Sweet Annie's Naturals.
Okay. All right. Sweet Annie's Naturals. That's my main channel. And when I first started, I started putting everything on that. But I have since pulled out certain things. They're still on that channel, but I've recently got two other channels. So what I have for that, what I would love for this Sweet Honey's Naturals is this is the place where we go back to nature and go back to the natural herbalism stuff and making your own stuff um, for your hair, your skin, and just being and health. And what else do I do? But there's so much things that I want to do for that channel. So that's where I am going to keep my natural stuff, my herbalism stuff, and all of that. And where I would love it to go is I would love it to go in a place where I could be doing lives and podcasts and different things like that, be able to help people with the knowledge and all of that I've gained over 60 years of life, because I don't only want it to be a channel where I come on and I just make something. I want to be able to share, and unfortunately we live in a fast-paced world.
Mhm.
I want to be able to come on and share life experiences with people as well, because if I had somebody to share things with me the way how I want to be able to share things with people, I don't think that I would make a lot of the um, diversions that I did,
Yeah.
because a lot of us out there might not have the guidance which my mom died when I was pretty young, so I didn't have the guidance that I needed to have.
Yeah.
So that is where I would like that channel to go, where we can get back and where other people will be able to share what they have learned as well. Because I don't want it to be like, I know everything or whatever. I want it to be a back and forth thing where people share things with me so that I can learn
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because because we all have our own things that we teach each other.
We're learning from each other, you know? Yeah.
Exactly.
So this wasn't actually a planned question, but as you were talking about Sweet Annie's Natural, I'm looking at your background, and your background tells a story. So tell us about your background. Tell us about what's on your shelves.
Oh, my shelf that actually had that question. Somebody asked me that last night. I had that question before. And my shelf, those are all my herbs, all my different herbs, and they're probably almost 100. Um, well, yeah, they're quite a few. Put it that way. The last time I count, they were like up in 70 something, and I've gotten a few more since then. But those are all my different herbs, and as long as you learn about herbs, basically you can make whatever you want to make for your body, for your skin, your hair. You just need to know what they are good for.
Yeah.
And I I make capsules, I make the tinctures, I make the different extracts, and I make the different oils. And I call myself the queen of oils. And the
Mhm.
reason I call myself the queen of oils is because I just love um, concocting different oils.
Yeah.
And that's what's on the back of my shelf. And the other side, that's the herbs. But then the other side are basically my herbal books
Mm.
and my health, well, basically health books
Yeah.
and herbal books, and then all my different journals with my different recipes and different things in there.
Wow.
So that's basically it. And
Well,
I'm good.
okay. So to answer the same question, my channel here, you can see at the bottom of my name is Tish Era INFJ. And what that means is my name is Letitia. So the Tish was from Letitia. The era was I'm moving into my era, this period that I'm in, the era, Letitia's era. And INFJ is my personality type. But the theme of my channel is Letitia Learns Life. And the whole the whole purpose of that channel for me is not to be perfect, to be my authentic self as I experience a season of learning and transition and unlearning, as we say, unlearning and learning and transitioning and becoming and being. and just living my life and sharing my experiences and my thoughts and my intuition. Because as you know, as my mother, you would know that first of all, I'm a deep thinker. I think in visuals, I think in metaphors and visuals, and I sometimes like I would think up things really quick that I don't know where they come from, where those mental downloads come from. But to me, not to sound vain or anything, I think there's wisdom and a profoundness in the things that I say and I think. And
Yeah,
what I've been doing over the years has been learning how to communicate those things, because you feel them and you see them, but you have to learn how to
it's
express
true.
it, how to
It's
describe
true.
it, how to explain what you're thinking, what you're seeing.
It's
But
true.
I do
I'm
think,
the same way.
yeah, I
It's
do
true.
think that my mind is my superpower. I do think the way how I see life and my desire to absorb and observe and to learn and to share what I learn, to also experience and to share what I learn is my strength. I feel like that's my gift, and I also have strong intuition and discernment, So I decided, okay, well, we live in a period of social media and communication. Why not use my gifts to my advantage? Why not lean into my gifts, lean into who I am, and it comes with it used to more than now, but it does still come with a little bit of insecurity, a little bit of self-doubt, you know, feeling, struggling a little bit with feeling misunderstood and not being able to communicate exactly how I want to. And I'm learning in this season, I'm learning how to deal with that, how to work through that and not just give into that self-doubt. And because I feel self-doubt, to pull away, because I feel
Hmm.
self-doubt, to not try or to not post it or to not put myself out there, but to keep
Exactly.
going and keep going and keep going until I am formed into whatever it is that my life is forming me into.
Exactly.
So that's the purpose of my channel, Letitia Learns Life. And the hopes and the goals and the dreams is I want to find my people. I want this channel to be a place where INFJs like myself, which is a rare personality type, could come to hear the experience of a person in my personality category. I What I do with my
Exactly.
channel is I talk about all the areas in which I feel that I'm aligned, like as a millennial. So I would talk about my perspective as a millennial, talk about my perspective as a mom, talk about my perspective um as an INFJ and as an idealist. And I talk about, so I always constantly share my
Exactly.
where I feel that my I'm aligned in my who I am, right? Because the whole, like I said, the goal is for a space to have conversation and to focus on growth and to focus on learning and to focus on discovering and creating and becoming. And I want to be an inspiration to other people where they feel they might get ideas from me, just
Exactly.
from me sharing my experience or me sharing my ideas or me sharing my thoughts. They might feel
Exactly.
inspired or they might learn something new and, what do whatever they will with that. And eventually to find my community, find my people, and to then use it as a platform, not only to hopefully learn to be able to make money for myself, to basically get paid for my existence, to get paid to create and to be,
Exactly.
and also to use the platform as a way to help, to
To
to to
what?
to,
To use the
to
platform?
as a way to help, like to
Yeah,
raise
of
funds for
course.
things and to help. I love one of the things I love. I'm inspired by is when I see big channels that I kind of aspire to be like,
Yeah,
raising funds for different, purposes, for different humanitarian purposes or helping
exactly.
purposes, So to be eventually to become a community, to find my people, become grow my channel, and then become a community where we help other people.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's where I'm hoping to go with that vision,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah, and to add a little bit to mine too is I want to be able to leave a legacy. I always say this for my children and my grandchildren, because when they can't see me anymore, they will still be able to see me when they need to see me,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, they will remember the strength that their grandmother had or their great grandmother had or whatever, and realize that they can have that strength as well, and they
Yeah.
can do whatever they put their hands to do. We said that earlier, but the point that I'm making is legacy is very important to me, and I would love to be able to gain something from this as well, because I've been doing it for 4 years,
Yeah.
and I would love to be able to gain something from it as well, so that I could enjoy the latter part of my life and do a lot of the things that I wish that I could have done when I was younger. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. I
And
do.
I'm just hoping and praying that the Holy Father gives me the strength and everything to be able to do those things, to be able to enjoy my latter years
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
and all of
Totally.
that, because there's some that has gone along before me, and I am so appreciative that I'm still here. So I know that I am here for such a time as this and for a specific purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
100%. I get it. So, how old are you going to be on your birthday this year?
Oh dear.
If you want to share that.
I don't ever tell
Oh,
people
oh,
my
really?
age
You're not.
anymore,
Oh, you're one of those
because
people that don't talk about age.
I don't, because I don't know who might be watching this video. So I don't, you see, one thing that you haven't experienced yet
Mm,
is that when and when people know your age,
mm.
they treat you differently.
Oh,
Before, they would see you a certain way, but from the time they know your age, they treat you, because they're seeing you now through different lenses,
oh,
and they treat you differently. And you would not understand this yet, because you
mm.
haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. I always wonder
So
why. Yeah. I always
I, s-
wondered why older women they don't
huh?
like share. I always wondered why older women don't like sharing the age.
Exactly. And that's the
Okay.
reason why.
Okay. Well,
That's the
now I
reason
know.
why, because it
Okay.
happens all the time.
Okay.
It happens, and I don't share. There are a lot of people at work
Mm-hmm.
that is trying to know my age,
Oh, I got you. Okay.
and
Okay.
I don't
But is
share.
it but it's okay to say that you're in your 60s or you don't
Um,
really like that?
I don't even do that. But
Mm.
but that's fine. They don't have to know 61. It could be 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be 59. It could be
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the point I am making is that that's the reason we don't share our age,
I didn't
because
know that. Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
because people treat you differently,
yeah.
because they begin to look at you as an old person. But
Yeah.
whereas if they think that you are in your 40s
Mm-hmm.
or your 50s, if you look young,
Mm-hmm.
and they think, they will treat you like that.
Yeah.
But although you act the same way that you always acted, they will
Mm-hmm.
start treating you differently.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting piece of understanding that I didn't have before. This is why I call this generational chats because now we understand certain. We get to hear the perspective of different generations and
Yeah.
different stages a person's life. So
And
that's very
I
interesting.
was, yeah. I
All
they
right.
have
So
this,
yeah.
just a quick thing. They have
Mm,
this lady on TikTok that I thoroughly admire.
mm,
And I mean, she is 80 years old
mm,
and she really looks good. And her name is Sherry.
mm,
And the first video I saw of her, she was saying that like a lot of her friends, I think she just started on TikTok or whatever,
mm.
and her friend said, Sherry, you get it. Oh, why don't you just slow down?
Yeah.
Just slow down. And her thing to them, her answer to them and to us, I guess, was for what?
Mm, yeah.
She dressed like, and then, they say, Sherry, why don't you dress according to your age?
Yeah.
And that's the
I
same
remember
thing.
seeing a thing. I don't know where I saw it, but a thing with a lady that was in her 80s working, still working. She working at Home Depot, skinnier than me, working at Home Depot, still working,
Yeah.
and that was
And,
that was very
and
cool. I mean, I guess it's a state of mind age, is a
it's
state
a
of
state
mind
of
and
mind,
a
age,
state of
but
and
the thing about it is that the people that are the people that got the state of mind, I guess, is the people that looking at us or even Sherry
mm,
as old. But
yeah,
for Sherry, she doesn't feel as though. That's
yeah,
why she said when her friends say, "You need to slow down.
yeah,
You're getting old now. You need to slow down." She said, "For what?"
yeah. She
And I
don't feel
think
like
that,
she needs to slow down. She
and
doesn't feel
why,
that.
Sherry,
Yeah,
why don't you dress your age?
yeah,
And that's the same thing that Tatiana was saying last night. Tatiana was saying, when you're a teenager and you dress in, they say, why don't you dress according to your age? When you're in your 20s, they say, why don't you dress according to your age? When you're in your 30s, they say, why
mhm,
don't you dress according to your age?
yeah,
And then, but for us, we're saying, when is it going to stop? What is the age? How do you dress according
yeah.
to your age? You
I
understand?
guess people are saying dress according to how I think you should dress.
I think that's what it is.
Dress
Dress
according to
according
how
to
I
what makes
perceive
me
you.
comfortable,
Yeah, but
but
dress
not
according
what
to how
makes
I
you
perceive you with my eyes.
exactly what
So
makes
that's
you
that's
comfortable.
why that's why I feel the lesson of this season that we in this period in time is learning to stop to shut out all the judgments and all the comments and all the
Exactly.
opinions and just focus on your own energy and what you feel. What do you feel inside yourself? What do you feel you're capable of? How you want to dress and how you want to be. Yeah, so I really do appreciate you sharing because that's kind of like the vision that I have for doing these more often is a generational conversation, the kind of conversation where we kind of bridge the gap and understand each other as women in different stages of our lives, not only in age and generation, but experiences, because we were born in different times and we had different
Exactly.
experiences. So I find it to be very interesting. So the
And
next. Oh, you want
we'll
you
be
want to say?
able to, and there are a lot of people out there that probably will be able to identify with a lot of what we
Mm-hmm.
say.
Somebody might identify with my end of it, and somebody might identify with yours.
Exactly.
So I think it's good. So my next question was describe, and this is you got to think again. Describe your dream future of the world. How do you,
Oh
how
Lord,
you would like to see the future of the world?
these are some real difficult questions. How I would like to see the future of the world. Well, For me or for everybody?
Either
uh,
one, like the world in as a whole.
well, for me, and I know that this might sound cliche because it's be cliche for everybody. I would love to see a world where there's a lot of love and
Mm,
there's a lot of like people really getting along with one another
yeah.
and not so much bickering and so much fighting. It's like we're in high school right
Mm,
now where the world is going, you know.
mm,
It is literally that's the way how it looks to me
mm,
looking on. Like we are in high school and countries, you know, like when you're in school, you have a friend or whatever the case may be, y'all get angry with one another. I'm not speaking to you, I'm not speaking to you. You know, it's like, so the world that I would love to see, which probably might just be a pipe dream at this point in
just
time.
don't say that.
I don't know, but um, I say it might be, not that it will be. Um, but I hope that it isn't. I hope that it could turn around. But you answer that question because for me that is a difficult question because
Well,
I'm just
I
gonna
mean,
say
like a lot of
basically
love is a
cliche
good
things.
answer right there. And don't like when from now on, anytime that come up in thought, please don't say cliche, pipe dream, or none of that stuff. Like believe in it, believe in it, believe in it. Just believe in it.
Yeah, because
So
that is where I would love the future of the world to go because and I would love all the corrupt, you know, all the corrupt people that are um I would just like the real honest people to take over
yeah,
running everywhere.
yeah,
That's what I would love. All the corrupt people that are in high places because they're all
mm,
being placed there for
mm,
a reason because they
mm,
got a certain agenda.
yeah,
And all of them that are because that's why they're not saying anything about anything.
yeah,
So I would just like all of those corrupt people to sit down and go home and get old gracefully and take
mm,
their millions, go do what you gotta do with it
yeah,
and
and just
let
get out the way. Yeah,
and get out of the way and let younger
yeah,
people, not only younger people, but younger people that really have the best interests of the world
mm. I
in
think that's where
because
we're heading. I know that it's hard for people to believe, but I think that that's where we're heading. I think that that's why, and that this is we're gonna try not to resist the urge of going into a big long conversation about it. But that I think that is why so much of things are being revealed right now, and I just do think that that's where we're heading. Even though
I
people
think
may
so
have a
too.
me,
I
even though
think
people
so.
might have a hard time believing that now based on where we are
I think
at
so.
present. I absolutely, and this is not a pipe dream. This is not optimism. This is a knowing. That is where we're heading, And I think that we just gotta like release the urge, resist the urge to say it's a pipe dream or it's a fantasy or all that stuff because it's not
Yeah,
a pipe dream. It is a knowing. We have a knowing, but it's our head, and that training that
yeah,
makes us think that that's not a possible thing, but we got that's one of the things we got unlearn and
yeah,
know what we know, and that is where we're heading. And that's a conversation. Hopefully we can have that conversation sometime as a separate conversation,
yeah. That's
but
yeah,
that's a conversation for another time. But my dream of the future of the world is the same, love. When people start to realize that
and not only love but light, light,
love
light.
and light, love and
We
light, and
need that
truth
light. We need
and
that light.
truth, but love and light and truth, and people start enlightenment,
Yeah.
the understanding of that, we had mentioned this earlier, that we all head in the same place,
Yeah.
just at different pace, from different directions, from different perspectives.
Yeah.
We are all living in the world that we are creating. And how I know that we live in the world, and I'm not talking about the grand world. I'm talking about the world that we see in this, through this portal here. Our perspective. You know,
Yeah.
we are not living in the same world. So stop projecting on people. Stop expecting of people. Stop demanding of people. You know what I mean? Demand of yourself, expect of yourself, create the world that you want to live in from here. Don't expect somebody external to create the world you want to live in. You create that world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even though the bigger world may not necessarily look that way, you start here. You start to see it in your mind, and you start to live in it, as you live as though you are already in that world. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And if enough people come into agreement of living in that world, a world motivated by love and having better leaders, and all the old people getting out of the way, and the younger generation of better leaders
The
taking over.
cockroaches gonna have to
If
run.
if enough people, yes, if enough people come into agreement with that, you know,
Cockroaches gonna have to
mm-hmm,
run.
100%. If enough people come into agreement with that future, then it will become a bigger. That will become the bigger overall, you know, vision of the world. But in the meantime, each person could create that world right now. They could just live in it as though they live in it. Live
Exactly.
in that world as though you already there. you know
Exactly.
and you move through the world, and according to my favorite quote, you be the change you want to see in the world. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You be the change you want to see in the world. Don't expect it from anybody else. let
Exactly.
people let, let people do what they're gonna do, and go at the speed that they're gonna go, and grow at the speed they're gonna grow.
Yeah.
And you just focus on you and in your world. The next question I was going to ask, but I'm not gonna ask it really. I think, unless you could answer really quickly. What do you love, and what do you love, and what do you love to do? So we know you love herbalism. Like, share some things that you didn't mention in this video already, in this recording already. What do you love, and what do you love to do?
Um. Well, recently started to enjoy dancing. I always loved to dance. I always loved to dance. But then, um, about 8 years ago, I I just stopped dancing, and because of a lot of things, I just stopped dancing. I stopped really doing things like that to enjoy myself and to think, because you got so serious about a lot of different things, because you feel as though it was wrong, you feel as though it was this, people telling you about the music and they're telling you about that. And it was like, oh, so I just stopped dancing. But recently for my TikTok video, I just started back dancing within the last 3 weeks or so. And the reason when I first started, I started in my pajamas. But I said, you know what? I was just trying a thing to see how it was gonna work out and stuff like that. And I said, I enjoy this. I enjoy spreading the light. I enjoy making people smile.
and
I
I could
enjoy bringing the
And
joy
I
to
could tell you
people.
from my end, you made me smile every single time. And you pick some really good songs. The songs you pick are empowering and intentional and beautiful. And you made me smile. And I had an idea, as you will know. I had an
Yes.
idea. I said, okay, well, these are TikTok videos, and TikTok videos, you could duet in TikTok videos. So I'm going to dance with my mom.
Yeah.
And
And that was a real
I
surprise to
started to
me.
do some dances with
I
your dance,
laughed so bad.
you know, and it brought me, it was fun. And
It's
it brought
fun.
me joy, and it's something that we could keep forever, because
It was fun.
like, yeah, it's a keepsake for us.
Yeah.
And tell people where was your TikTok account, in case anybody watching this video, watching this recording, has a TikTok. Where could they find you on TikTok?
Well, my brand name has for the last 12 years has been Sweet Annie's. So they can find me at Sweet Annie's 61. That's
And
basically it.
I
Sweet
am,
Annie's 61.
and my
And
TikTok
that
is, yeah.
mm,
Go ahead, go ahead.
and that is my TikTok name.
And
And
mine. So
and
go ahead.
what?
I was gonna share what mine is.
Yeah, go ahead. That's
Mine
okay.
is Tish Era, Sam Tishara 42. Tishara 42.
Right.
So yeah. And
Right.
those TikTok dances are fun to watch. They bring a lot of light and a lot of love and a lot of joy. And there's it's a good reflection of the season that we really are in. We're not in a season of fear, and we're not in a season of, well, let's just say we're not in a season of fear. We're not are consuming all the scary stuff.
It's true. And I
We are,
will, it's one thing I will share, will not probably share the exact, but I am basically 50 plus and not 50 plus, 60 plus, and I feel happy doing that. I feel
yeah,
happy doing that, and I want to be able to encourage other people to do it because I feel happy. Sometimes it is difficult finding the songs, but the songs come to me.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
and
truth. The
it not only
songs,
connect you to the dance, but connect you to the music as well. To music, music is so
exactly,
good for the soul. It's so good for
exactly.
the
The
spirit,
songs,
especially when you got uplifting songs. You know,
yeah. And
it
so the
really helps the
songs
soul.
just come to me, and I I just try to go with it because I do them. I don't record them first and then
Mhm.
post them. I just do them straight. So
Yeah,
however they come out, they come out. So
yeah, I totally get that.
huh?
Yeah, I say I totally get that. I understand that
Yeah.
process.
Anyway,
Because
but
even if I was a practice to do things, I would still it would come out different every time. So it didn't even make no sense.
exactly, exactly, because it all depends on how you feel
All right, so I
and
think we
and
got,
and, and
yeah,
what happens at the point in time. So I just go with the music, and as you
yeah,
said, I try to do it in a way where it could uplift people because I want to let people know that
yeah,
basically you're not as weak as you thought you were.
yeah,
Because when I was going through all of what I was going through, I used to think that I was so weak. But this is what I always tell people. I don't ever fall. I
yeah.
just
You're stronger
stumble
than
a
you
little
think.
bit.
You're stronger than you think.
Yeah,
So
but
I
I
think we
don't
might be
fall.
able to pull off the end of this question thing I have going on here. I got the last few questions, so I think we might be able to pull it off at any time. What would you entitle this chapter of your life? What would you call it? What's the name of this chapter?
Um, the day I became enlightened.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I won't even say the month. I would say the day I became
wow,
enlightened.
wow.
And enlightenment could be a lot of different ways, I guess, interpret a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
But this chapter in my life is a chapter of enlightenment because I feel I feel like I could do anything. And that was one of my songs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
one of my
remember. It's in my head.
yeah.
I am woman. I am strong. I am invincible.
And I feel that I could do anything.
Yeah.
So, because you don't have as much years as I do,
Mm-hmm.
but when I look back at my
Mm-hmm.
life over the years,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen I've seen the little creases and the little crevices that I've came through, and I always look back and I said, it
Yeah.
is only the divine, it is only the Most High that has brought me through this, and it has made me realize that with faith, because faith is what they have, and that's why my channel is called Sweet Annie's Faith. With faith, you can do anything,
Mm-hmm.
anything at all. You can do. So I will call it the day of enlightenment.
And I will call mine my butterfly arrow. You know,
Okay.
my butterfly arrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you are, for me, I don't know, but you are metamorphosing into from a caterpillar. And
Mm-hmm.
what a caterpillar does is is a caterpillar crawls on its stomach,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it grows into a butterfly, the butterfly flies.
Mm-hmm.
It fly
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
and it is so beautiful. And I would always say that I would love to be in a place where I could fly with the eagles,
Mm-hmm.
because the eagles are the only bird that can fly higher than any other bird.
Yeah.
And if I could fly with the eagles, and I putting this out into the atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we have things in our head,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't put it out in the atmosphere. And I putting this out in the atmosphere because these are dreams and visions and everything I always had for my life, but I always got sidetracked with different um, people and different things coming into my life and
Mm-hmm.
causing me to go off track. But I always visions and goals and dreams and things like that for my life. So it's not that I didn't have them. It's
Yeah.
just that they're just a little delayed.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand. So
Anyway,
we
so
got
we
like,
were on.
yeah, we got like 8 minutes of time left, and I got two questions to ask you. Actually, it's
Wow,
three. It's three. So it depends on how fast you can
how
answer.
much questions you had?
I wrote down a bunch. So three questions. Again, I can just throw them out there, and you could see how quickly you can answer them.
Yeah, answer
Uh,
them very quickly.
what is your favorite thing in nature? What is something new you learned this month? And what new things do you want to learn in this chapter? If it's possible to answer those quickly.
All right, I didn't get the second question, but you said what are.
Yeah, what's your favorite thing in nature? What is something new that you learned this month? And what are the new things that you would like to learn in this chapter?
All right.
Yeah.
My favorite things in nature.
Try to be quick.
I know. That's impossible for me because you're giving me some hard questions now. Um, I pass. I don't know. I don't know. What is my favorite day in nature?
Trees, waterfall, bees, butterflies,
What is my favorite thing
plants,
in nature? My
grass,
my
sand,
favorite
the ocean.
my
Go ahead.
favorite thing in nature. Yeah, that is one of my favorite things, definitely in nature, and that's what I miss most from home. But my favorite thing in nature is when I go out into, like, as you say, the trees or whatever, like when I lived at Greg and I went out into the trees, just breathing.
Yeah.
It was just a different kind of air,
Yeah.
breathing that air in nature. And
Yeah.
that is one of my favorite things, the breath that I feel
Yeah.
out in nature.
Yeah.
And also the seawater from Barbados.
Yeah. So you learned anything new this month?
Yeah, I did. I learned, yeah, what did I learn this month? I learned so many things. I learned this month that, well, yeah, this month that me personally give off good energy.
Mm.
And why I say I learned that, I don't know if that is the answer you were looking for or whatever. But I realize I give off good energy because somebody that I never would think that would say this to me at work said to
Mm.
me,
Yeah.
whenever I see you on mornings, well, at night really, but it's morning, come to work, whenever I see you, you put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And that was a good that was a good thing to hear because that's
Mm.
what I want to do. I want, when I go out, I want my light to shine.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I want my light to shine.
Yeah.
So I think that is what I have learned this month, that even though I believe it is not shining, although it is shining
Yeah.
because people are seeing it.
Yeah.
And that is what makes me happy. That is what gives me joy.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to end the questions there, even though we have one more, but we will have to save that for another chat. I'm looking forward to our Mother's Day chat. We can do a Mother's Day
And
chat.
what was it? What was the other question again?
What new things you hope to learn in this chapter? And I'm gonna
Oh yeah, we could leave
save
that
that
for
question,
yeah,
yeah,
we could leave that question for
for
another, because
another
that's gonna go
chat.
on
Yeah,
a little
that's a
longer
big
than we
one.
have.
That's a big one. That's a big one. So I look forward to our Mother's Day chat. We will do a Mother's Day chat. You can hear me, right? We will do a Mother's Day chat. You hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
And so thank you for watching. I hope that you guys subscribe to our YouTube channels and look for us on TikTok if you are on TikTok. But subscribe to our YouTube channels. There are, underneath our names, Tish Era INFJ and Sweet Annie's Naturals, and we have different perspectives on things and similar perspectives. And we like to get together and invite you into watching our conversations, because I think they're really good conversations, and we always
and I
take
hope
longer
you
than we
and I,
we
and
we
I
always
hope
take.
you enjoyed
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
hope you enjoyed it. And if you
yes,
did,
we always take.
subscribe to this channel. Do all of what you got to do. Send some comments. Let us know what you
Yeah,
enjoyed or what you
yeah,
took away from this conversation.
yeah, yep,
So
yeah, because we are not fast talkers. We take our time, we take our sweet time to
it's
process the
true.
information, and we have a conversation. And our energy and our content are for people who like to slow down, smell the roses, and look at the sunflowers.
Yeah, I'm
And
definitely not a
yeah,
fast talker.
sit in the garden with us, have tea with us, have
Exactly.
enjoy a little bit of calm, and enjoy our vibrations. So thank you for watching. This was a really good conversation, and I look forward to us doing it again.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you so much for joining us, and see you again next time.
Bye.